What's up, guys? So I'm finally got my car into work and I'm doing a little bit of 3D scanning, so I figured I would just kind of take you guys along for the ride, show you what I'm using, show you what it, I guess essentially what it produces when I'm using it, and how this sort of gets incorporated into some kind of product design. So behind me is a Metroscan. So this is the, for layman's terms, the soccer ball. Because we've got this larger 3D scanner. This is very large compared to some of the other ones. You can get handy scanners that are smaller and things like that. This just makes life significantly easier because I've got a laser or a C-track over here that essentially just locates this in space. So you can see on the monitor behind me, I don't know if this is going to pick this up or not. We'll find out. Maybe not. But that locates this in space in relation to what I'm scanning, so that this way there's a frame of reference for this to pick up on. So we're going to scan this and see how it goes. So for reference, in this situation, I'm trying to scan this inlet tube for the intake for the fresh air feeder that goes into the box, which is this piece right here, and then the intake box itself. Then the next step will be I'll pull this intake out and scan this entire area without the intake in there for the mounting brackets. And after that, I'll scan the box by itself outside of the car. And this way, when I orient everything, it'll all snap back together and the box will be able to be hidden or suppressed when it's in software like SolidWorks. And this way you can begin designing, your own parts. So I'm really just kind of going slow. I don't know how much that's going to pick up. I don't know how much my GoPro is going to pick up, but you're just kind of going over the same area a couple times. You're trying to get rid of as many kind of holes in the scan data as you can. This way in post-processing, I don't have to go back and spend hours trying to fill them. So let's see. I'm gonna pause for a second there. And bring this over this way you guys can see what I'm scanning. So I really was only focused on the driver's side, so I'll have to go back and kind of continue to touch up on the passenger side. But that's what the scan data looks like. This is the actual intake itself. So what I wanted to do, since in the video you see the hyperlapses of me scanning this area in the car, I figured it might be worth showing what you're seeing afterwards and kind of the process for how it goes from me scanning that empty area in the car to excuse me, designing parts and things like that. So basically what you're seeing right now is a fully surfaced engine bay, or at least the area that you see me scanning in the video. So when this first comes in, it's not this gold color, just for reference. I'll explain in a second. Basically, this is just the scan data that's received by that, and then it's put into this program, which is called Geomagic Wrap. And there's other post-processing programs. This is just the one that I use. And so you come in here, you'll see it'll be considerably messier, honestly, but you'll see how, not everything was picked up by the scanner. So you've got these kind of like holes here. Now you can choose to go in and use things like features and curves and, tools and some of these other aspects of the program. And you can create like bridges, and the program is actually pretty impressive at being able to fill in a lot of this or these holes and make it pretty close to how it should be. Every once in a while you'll get some kind of really odd surfacing that'll happen and it just looks really poor, and you just go in and delete it and you know, try to make it a little bit better. But overall, the main thing, in this case at least, that I was looking for was this mounting point right here, which is a mounting point for the lower box. You've got a secondary mounting point and a tertiary mounting point. And that's really, you know, the main things that you're looking for, because in this situation, you know, you're just looking for, the mounting points aren't going to change. So that's clearly, you know, one of the most important things. The next most important thing is going to be pretty much just the size of the box. So, you know, I've captured some of the wiring looms, the edge of this splitter for all the hoses and everything, and then it just kind of gives you a general idea of basically where the box can go, that it's not going to start interfering with other aspects in the engine bay. Obviously, you don't want to take the time into designing an intake, printing it, more than likely it'll be 3D printed as a sample, and then putting it in here to find out that, oh crap, I didn't design this correctly and it's hitting this before it's even inside the box. The other thing is over here, this is the the fender support. So this is where the intake duct would normally be, and obviously with hood clearance and everything, you have to make sure that the box is going to not only clear this, but when the hood's closed, you're not ramming the hood into the top of the intake box. The other thing that will be incredibly important is, if I can get this to pan correctly, this right here. So this is the factory turbo inlet pipe. So the intake tube has to mate up to this, unless you're planning on designing completely your own turbo inlet pipe. You obviously want the inlet that's coming off your aftermarket design box to mesh up to this, whether it's, of course, similar diameter, but you also want it to be, you know, within range of this so that you're able to fit a silicone coupler or something like that. So what happens is, to start, I get just kind of a mess of scan data. I go in, I trim down all the extraneous stuff that I don't need, because down here, it's probably not going to get picked up real well, I'll see, is basically the number of triangles. And so this particular scan data, which was trimmed down consistent or pretty heavily, is currently 2.85 million triangles. I think when I brought it in, it was like 8 million. So I decimate it and I bring it down probably about 40% of what it is, which just basically means when it goes through surfacing, it's faster. This is incredibly intensive on my computer. So I try to make these files as small as possible. You also end up running Mesh Doctor, which just kind of helps go in, smooths out some of these rough edges and things. Some of this stuff, you know, it looks real nice here, but when you bring it in, it's kind of there's a bunch of sharp angles and things that the program detects that aren't picked up initially by like the human eye. And then this goes through exact surfacing where it just gets auto surfaced, and then it's just kind of a waiting game. At that point, once that's done, what you'll end up doing is this gets saved in a different file type and it gets brought into SolidWorks. And this is now where I can actually do the majority of my actual design work. Sorry, this is going to be, I'm trying not to mess with people's eyes. So basically what happens here, when you bring this in without surfacing it, you see how, let's see, give this 1 second, there's a lot of surfaces. So initially you can see how it's just this kind of smooth gray area. Well, if you don't surface it, it just stays as that smooth gray area, and essentially there's nothing that you can build off of. So you can't make planes off of any of the surfaces. You can't, you know, like here you can see I can select these corner edges, I can select these corner points, I can choose points here and make a three-dimensional sketch and make planes in order to design off of. So it's things like that that, you know, are how you basically start your design process. So just surfacing is pretty much, post-processing and surfacing is pretty much just the first step into how you would design one of these. I just figured it was nice to kind of give people an idea, show you kind of how the product design side of it works and how I go from the real car to surface data, or excuse me, scanning data to SolidWorks files, and from there I can actually start designs. Stay tuned for some more Corolla content. I do have some stuff that I'm designing, some stuff that I'm test fitting, some parts that I'll be test fitting for a different company that I'm sort of collaborating with, and then some of these are my own design and things that I'm just trying to release to the community. But if you're interested, you know, I'll be releasing it, so stay tuned. Also, drop a comment down below if you do have any questions. I'll do my best to answer. Sorry, I know some of it's a little convoluted. I'm trying not to, just drone on and on about the design process. But anyway, bye.